everyone and welcome back. Today I wanted to show you how I use CO2 extracts to make my blends at home, and it's a fun and easy process. I hope you guys enjoy. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask them below. But today we're going to make a nice creamy oil, so it won't be completely oil, but it'll be nice blend between a balm and an oil, so it'll be nice and creamy. Let's go over what you will need. You will need something to make your blend in. I use this Pyrex cup for all of my DIY purposes. I make small batches and it works out really well. So it's one of the simplest things that I could find. Next, you'll need something to stir with. And the easiest thing I think is a chopstick. It's easy to clean and also doesn't kind of clump up your blends when you're making them. You will need your CO2 extracts. Today I'm going to use calendula extract, which is nice and rich yellow color, and it has lots of healing properties to it. And then we will also use a blue chamomile CO2 extract just to add to the blend. This goes really well with the calendula extract. If you want it to be blue, then you can add more of this extract, but this is my recipe. You will also need your carrier oils. You can use whatever you have. Today I happen to have rosehip seed oil as well as some hazelnut oil, but I think for this I'm just going to stick to rosehip, which is nice dry oil, so it works really well all over your body. I'm also going to use a little bit of shea butter just to give our little creamy oil some texture and some more moisturization properties. And then you will need some sort of wax to sort of give a little bit of hardness and texture to your blend. And you can use a plant-based one like this one, which is rice bran. You can find this on Amazon or anywhere else. And this is if you're vegan, and you can also use beeswax. I no longer purchase beeswax because I am going towards a more plant-based lifestyle, but I have a ton left here, so I'm just going to use this up, and I'm not going to waste it and throw it away, of course. So that is all you will need. It's very simple at home. This takes me like no more than 15 minutes because I make tiny little bits at a time, so I can experiment with different blends and different oils. But over here I have a hot plate going for this video, and I have a pan of water here which is coming to boil. Now I'm going to go ahead and just take my Pyrex cup and put it in the middle, and this is going to be where all the magic happens. It's very simple, and on the stove top it won't take long at all. Now the method here is you always want to go with your hardest ingredients and put the CO2 extracts and essential oils at the very end because the hardest ones will take a higher temperature to melt. So you want to go from your wax to your butters to your oils, make sure it's all blended together, and then at the end you can add your extracts and essential oils and blend those together as well, and that'll give you a nice cohesive blend that you can go ahead and start using, and it won't burn a lot of the ingredients. So again, very simple. I'm gonna just go ahead and open up my wax here, so bear with me a little bit. I don't tend to measure a lot of my ingredients, but I will give some measurements as we're going on because I've been doing this for such a long time. I kind of know what my skin needs and what I like, and this is just something I've learned over time. So go ahead and experiment and make little bits. Here I have some beeswax that I'm going to put in here. This is about half a teaspoon. You don't need a ton. If you want your texture to be more balmy than oily, and if you want it to be less creamy, you want to add more wax to it. Here all of our beeswax has melted. This takes maybe no longer than like 5 minutes depending on how much you have here, and then I'm gonna just stir that up, make sure it's all melted. And now we're going to go ahead and put our next hard ingredient, which is going to be the shea butter. Again, I'm just going to put in by my judgment, but this is about a teaspoon, close to a teaspoon worth of shea butter. Again, you can add more if you want it to be nice and moisturizing and creamy, but this is the texture that I prefer because I don't want it to be super greasy, because I like having a nice like dry oil balm kind of texture. So once I put it on, my oily fingerprints don't end up all over my stuff. Again, you're going to stir for a bit, and this is going to melt very, very quickly because the heat is already going on, and the butters don't really require high heat. It all depends on what type of butter it is as well, but the more you play around with it, the easier it'll become over time. And then you want to make sure that both the butter and the wax are melted and blended well together. And now we're going to go ahead and put in our oil at this point. And for the oil, I just used teaspoon measurements is just easy, or tablespoon. I'm going to put about 2 tablespoons of the rosehip seed oil. I decided not to go with the hazelnut because rosehip seed is really nice dry oil, and it works really well for anti-aging and all that stuff. I don't like using that phrase anymore, but you get the point. This balm, this oil, cream, whatever you want to call it, it's really good to use everywhere on your body. Really good for under eyes as well. It's one of my favorite blends for under eyes because it's healing and moisturizing at the same time. Now when you put in your oil, it's going to be at either at room temperature or a little bit cooler. I keep mine in my basement, so all your wax and your butters might start to harden up a little bit, but don't worry, just keep on stirring. Your water is still going to be hot, and it'll start to melt all of the ingredients together, and you're going to stir and stir and stir just so you can have a nice mixture. Everything should be well blended. And right after this point, once all of your oils and wax and butters have melted together, you can go ahead and turn the heat off. The water will still be hot, so it'll keep the blend nice and viscous to put in your other ingredients. Now we want to go ahead and put in our CO2, and it's actually, both of these kind of harden up, kind of like coconut oil, so you want to make sure that you get them to a nice and viscous oil, so you can go ahead and put them in your blend. And for that, I just put in another bowl in my water, and then I made sure to put both of my CO2 extracts in there, so this way they go from hard to more of an oil texture, so you can go ahead and mix them in. This is one step that it's very, very necessary. If you don't do it, then you might get like little clumps of CO2, and that can kind of ruin your blend. So now I'm going to go ahead and put in my calendula CO2. You want to use very, very tiny bit because these are very active ingredients. This is about 2 drops. I just use a teaspoon or a spoon measurement because it's easier for me to get my extract in there, because I feel like if I use a dropper, then I waste a lot of the extract because it gets stuck in there. And I'm just going to straight ahead put that in my blend because the oils are still warm, and this will help me blend my CO2 in there. Do you see that? It's really nice, and this helps everything to mix together and not clump up, and you don't get just clumps of the extract and then it doesn't blend well. It's not a pretty mixture at that point. Now I'm going to go ahead and put in the CO2 for the blue chamomile. Again, this is one of those CO2s that gives a lot of the balms the blue color. They're very big in the market nowadays. I'm going to put just a tiny bit, but these two together work great. I love this to put on my hands right before I go to bed because it gives a really nice soothing scent as well, and great healing properties. So I'm going to go ahead and just mix it all together. This is kind of tricky because I'm trying to film at the same time, so please don't mind. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure it's all nice and stirred together. So again, it's a very fun process. Please do play around with it, and bear with me while I get all my stuff sorted. And this is pretty much it. At this point, you can go ahead and add some essential oils if you like. I didn't add it in this video, but later on I ended up adding some juniper and ylang ylang because again, I love the scent of those two. Or you can just leave it as is. Essential oils are not necessary if you are sensitive to them or if you don't have them on hand. And now you're ready to pour this into a tin or a jar, whatever you want. And we have to let it harden up for a little bit so we can see the final product. But I like to use tins and jars because they have a wide mouth. I can get all my product out and then I can clean it up afterwards and reuse it, so there's not a lot of waste. And this just is a really, really nice healing balm to have with you during colder months, and multi-purpose. You can use it for many different things. under eyes. You can use it all over your face. You can use it on your hands, you know, and it's just really nice and soothing. So this is our final product now. We just have to lay it, you can lay it either in the fridge or you can leave it outside. Times will differ, and then you have it hardened up. It won't be completely hard, at least this recipe, because I wanted to make a creamy oil, not a balm. If you want a balm, add more of the wax to it, right? So do you see that? It's like really nice and creamy to the touch. Oils are, I feel like, you know, are kind of hard to sort of, you know, carry with you everywhere, but this is not so bad, and it gives you a little bit of a luxury feel. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments, you know, I hope it was helpful. This is a really fun thing to do at home, and you know exactly what goes into your products. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye for now.